Digital Inclusion, and he hosts the Digital Insights, Accessibility Insights series. And I'm pleased to say he's joined today by Ursula Dalton, who's the Chief Technology Officer at British Heart Foundation. Over to you, Robin.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mark. Stop sharing screen. Thank you very much. Great. So hopefully, guys, you can see myself and the lovely Ursula on the screen now. Are you all right, Ursula? Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Robin.
Really excited about this one. The BHF is such a brilliant organization, really, really interesting, a great mix of a very large central team and an even larger set of retail staff across the hundreds and hundreds of stores. But I'm sure that this will come out in our conversation. So yeah, Ursula, you're the CTO, so the Chief Technology Officer, but we're not only going to be talking about accessibility, we're going to be focusing on D&I, diversity and inclusion across the organization as well, because there's some really, really fascinating things going on. But before we get cracking with all of that, we have to ask, as per always, what is your hot or cold beverage of choice to help you get through this ordeal?
Well, Robin, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. But looking at the hot or cold beverages, I have to say coffee and chocolates, because you can't have one without the other. So I thoroughly enjoyed my coffees and chocolates the past 18 months or so.
Wow, I hope you don't drink too much coffee then, if you always have chocolate with it, just saying.
Yeah. Definitely. Try to stick to 2-3 cups a day.
I've just got builder's tea, if anyone's interested, just hot, strong tea. Great. So this question is going to sound a little bit familiar to people that are regular tuners in. Over the last 10 years, but by all means go more recent if you want to, what do you think the main changes in diversity, inclusion, the whole landscape has been, in your opinion? And what do you think the main, changing factors have been?
Well, Robin, in my opinion, especially the past 10 years, the major change has been largely societal. I think ideas, thoughts, but also personal experiences have moved on. Ideas that were current 10 years ago are not current anymore because a whole new generation has emerged and has entered the workspace. The expectations are different to what it was 10 years ago. So I think we have become a society that is much more accepting of individual differences because our tolerance levels of our society and the individual differences have changed to the better. Also, social media has provided a huge platform for showcasing diversity and also engaging people with diversity. At the same time, organizations have brought diversity and inclusion to the forefront, with many including it in the organizational strategy with specific goals as well. There is still some way to go, but all of us are acknowledging the successes a diverse and inclusive workforce can bring to an organization, that each one of us brings something unique and powerful. I think that's what I truly believe, and that's a big change in the past few years.
Absolutely, yeah. There's been so many changes, particularly in the perception of disability and the acceptance of the social model. Absolutely. And another social media, like you say, has been a really, and I know that fundraising is a key element of BHF's processes, day-to-day work. So that's, I'm sure, being leveraged, and we may touch upon that a little bit later on. So what about how, D&I, diversity and inclusion and accessibility, how has that been sort of embedded within your teams internally, right across all teams, including recruitment processes?
Sure. I think overall, we have a very diverse workforce, as you mentioned, especially with the 730 shops, which operates with thousands of volunteers to various and the various fundraising teams. It is very much driven from the top down. The whole diversity and inclusivity initiative is driven very much from the top down, with the executive directors being hands-on involved. We personally sponsor various affinity groups as well. The The other thing is it has moved from being the work of a small team to an organizational imperative that provides benefits rather than challenges. So at the BHF, we are keen to make it part of our organizational culture. When it comes to recruitment, our recruitment team uses all standard practices by recognizing the diverse needs of individuals when they are going through the recruitment process, because we strongly believe that every employee should feel seen and valued. So especially when we are recruiting, we want to ensure that every future employee feels the same, so they can demonstrate their full potential during the recruitment process. And this is something that all of us are responsible for. It's not just the recruitment team's responsibility. Anybody who is involved in the recruitment, to every employee in the organization, should actually be responsible for it. When it comes to accessibility, so far our main focus has been on how to provide the right equipment, tools, and support. So we are actively working on learning from others. For example, we are working with tech giants such as Microsoft to learn from them. Given they are a strong player in this space, I know that they made a number of announcements at the Ability Summit 2021 as part of the 5-year commitment to supporting people with disabilities. And of course, we want to learn from the amazing work that AbilityNet are doing as well, because it is not something we can do alone. That's why I'm really interested in taking part in sessions like this as well, because we learn from the questions all of you in the audience ask us. So it's a two-way process and something we have to do together.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a journey. We're all on it. How about leveraging the expertise of or the experiences of your disabled employees? Are you actively pursuing that and putting processes in place to kind of listen to them and get their feedback?
Of course, Robin, because it's, as you say, it's a journey. You'll never get there, because every day we want to improve. We want to show how we actually support all our employees, whatever their need is. So definitely, yes.
Absolutely. So internally, there's a lot going on, and there's a real recognition of the importance of embracing diversity in all its forms, and to making sure that people can access the systems and the processes, etc., that they need. Are you doing anything to extend that to external stakeholders? Obviously, BHF is all about your external stakeholders.
Definitely. I mean, if I say heart and circulatory disease is something that can affect anybody. We have many interactions with people who have various needs, our volunteers to donors, people who take part in various fundraising activities, people who access our services for advice and support, our research committee, and so on. Prior to the pandemic, most of these interactions were face-to-face. As we know, the pandemic affected the charity sector because it relied on many face-to-face interactions. At the BHF, we immediately launched our Patients First program, supporting heart patients with those at high risk of complications from coronavirus. Our coronavirus hub on the BHF website is updated daily with new information, and it has received more than 12 million visits since the beginning of the pandemic. And calls to our nurse helpline were up by 400%, higher than normal in the first few weeks of the pandemic. So we had to come up with ideas to support these needs. I'm a strong believer that a diverse and inclusive workforce drives innovation, because we pivoted to creating many new virtual fundraising products, such as My Cycle, My Step Challenge, and many more like that. To do so, we actively listen and learn from various external stakeholders on how we can improve on our digital products. For example, a few months ago, we launched a customized service, a product called My BHF. One of the key things we have done with this product is actually very much create the feedback loop, but put in place some continuous improvement approach based on the feedback to the product enhancement plan. So we're making it actually a part of that whole process now. So I think in a nutshell, we actively seek to have that diverse and inclusive product teams, embed accessibility to be part of the design process, because addressing the various aspects of D&I drives better employee and customer engagement. For me, I think that's really key.
Absolutely. And you mentioned about embedding it into the design process. We know you hear about shift left, and we talked about that with Larry Goldberg of Verizon Media recently. He's a huge proponent of born accessible. And, you know, your stakeholders are often going to be of the older generation. Obviously not exclusively, you know, heart health is something that we should all be concerned about, but making sure that products are as usable as possible for people with impairments, a range of different impairments, is going to make it much more usable, easy to use for all of your stakeholders, which has got to help those who potentially aren't as sort of digitally confident as others.
Definitely, and that's the reason we are very keen to hear back from them, because it's that sometimes it's the accessibility as well as the confidence in using our products, and it's the user friendliness of the products are so important as well. So we want to hear about all that feedback, and that's the only way we can improve the service we provide.
Absolutely. So you touched upon COVID. I don't think any conversation that we've had in the last 18 months hasn't talked about it, because it's had such a huge impact. Has, you know, COVID, home working, or remote delivery of your services had an impact on you personally, if you want to talk about that, but certainly on BHF as a whole? You know, as CTO, you're, I'm sure, only too aware, and I know you've touched upon some of these, but, you know, what's the kind of takeaways, the biggest takeaways that COVID, home or remote working has had on you or at your organization?
So I'll go with the personal part first. So we're still working from home. So since March of 2020, we are still working from home, and I've been to the office twice since then. And both times I've been there, it's been officially closed. And so getting used to the work from home, it's that always on culture, especially when you're working in technology. I think that's the challenge I'm finding personally, because I'm contactable all the time. I was before as well, but now it's very much, it's always on. But it can be exhausting too. So if I go to the organization, I mean, when the pandemic started, our initial focus was supporting our employees work remotely by understanding their various needs and ensuring that they have got the right equipment and tools. So there was this big focus on make sure that they can work from home with equipment and tools. We did have many accessibility specific support requests that we dealt with operationally, because when they were in the office, we had everything set up for them to be able to work from the office, and we had the tools and, you know, the physical desk spaces and all those things. But then to shift to home working, we had to make sure all that was sorted right away. This also brought to the forefront the accessibility to be part of our digital product delivery, because we needed to fulfill a wide range of needs, because we focused a lot on the physical side and making sure that people had the actually various tools they needed. But then I started really looking at, okay, as we touched on before, the people who access our services, they've changed quickly because we went very digital. So how can we support them? So as I mentioned earlier, we are learning from our tech partners as well as understand what they already have that can be used to what is in the pipeline. So what sort of functionality, additional functionality is on the way, so we can continuously improve again. It is very much working together to understand and provide the right support where various needs of accessibility are concerned. At the same time, Robin, the current challenge and opportunity is how how do we provide this seamless service and support in the hybrid working model? Because I'm sure that that's what lots of organizations are looking at, and that's what we are looking at as well. This is an ongoing learning process, and again, not something we can do alone. So we are keen, very keen to see how others are approaching it. So we are actually having lots of discussions with other organizations to understand how they're approaching it. I have to say, as a technology leader, I think this is a brilliant opportunity to bring together that integrated view and structure to deliver our technology services to meet the needs of all. I mean, you touched on it earlier. The demographies, the audiences have changed. So we actually have to look at everything. And you can look at it as a challenge or as an opportunity. And I'm really looking at it as an opportunity, because we can get the best that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. And with regards internal internal processes, you, I think, use Teams, talking about Microsoft there. And you know, that's a whole suite of solutions in itself. And if there's something that Teams doesn't do that your organization needs, just wait a week and it'll be in there next time there's an update. So yeah, we're very lucky. We've got some really powerful tools at our disposal. And I absolutely agree. The opportunities that have been realized, I would say, in sort of short order because of COVID have been enormous. And we're all reaping the benefits of it. But like you say, there are challenges as well. For me as a blind person, you know, not having a pair of eyes on hand all the time can be challenging, but then there are technological solutions to help with that as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And I mean, as you mentioned, Microsoft and them, they're introducing functionality so fast. Sometimes it's just really hard to keep up with them and communicate it to our employees, saying, look here, all this functionality is there. So that's something we're really trying to keep on top of, because we want to make sure everybody has access to everything as they show up as well.
Training, huge challenge going forward. Yeah, fast moving area, absolutely. So last week saw the publication of the government's National Disability Strategy, and we've been talking about, you know, how much we've come on, I think, in the last several years, the opportunities today, but you only have to read that to realize quite how much still needs to be achieved. There's some very sobering stats in there. So my next question is, what do you think personally needs to change next? You know, if you had to kind of give some top challenges that might still need to be addressed, and how do you think we can tackle those?
Well, I was reading that, the policy with interest, and I did a bit more additional research around from Gartner as well, prepping for today. I mean, for me, the big thing is embrace the opportunity, because addressing the various aspects of diversity and inclusion drives better employee and customer engagement, because at the end of the day, we want our employees to be fully engaged, and in return, actually, we'll get that better customer engagement as well. When I was doing the research, I read this paper from Gartner, which was published just last month, on how technology leaders must play a critical strategic role, like leveraging technology and technical resource to help foster and build inclusive and what they call equitable technologies that reflect the diverse workforce we serve. So I thought I was reading that with great interest to see actually what are the trends that, you know, in the wider, you know, globally, what's coming our way. And they were emphasizing on how we should truly partner with HR, be innovative with our talent acquisition to development and retention. So that's quite interesting, because it's really focusing that end-to-end process, the acquisition, development, and retention. And as an immediate next step, this is quite important, because I mean, as a tech leader, it's how do we retain our, you know, talent we have, and how do we really give them the right support. Then to achieve this, we have to ensure that we have clearly defined goals, measure the positive impact, the different viewpoints every individual bring to a team, because I've been talking about the diverse teams brings, better employee engagement and all that. I don't think we have really truly started monitoring, capturing and measuring this yet. And something I'm really keen to start doing that, because we can truly quantify it and show the benefit. And of course, finally, definitely I'm one for learning from others, identify opportunities to collaborate, because this is something we cannot achieve on our own. So we can do more, achieve more together. So it's a few points there, Robin.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, gathering that information, that really valuable MI, is a tricky one. Many organizations don't do it and are reluctant to. But yes, if it's done well, then it can be incredibly powerful. And yeah, let's hope that organizations are able to encourage people to disclose, and then to help them meet their particular needs right across all the protected characteristics, not just disability. So actually, this is spooky, because we finish off then with a question or comment from our last month's guest, which was Richard Morton, whom was of CDDO, the Central Digital and Data Office of the government, talking about the digital strategy, etc. Sorry, disability strategy. And it's pretty much to your last point, which was, he was asking, how does BHF go about building a culture of accessibility and inclusion within the organization? And have you got any sort of top tips or takeaways, although you've already given us several?
Well, actually, I think I would say culture, it has been driven by hands-on support by the executives. Get everybody to believe in it, because yes, executives have to drive it, give that leadership, and we got to get everybody in the organization to truly believe in it. Learn from others and continuously improve our approach, because that is how we can truly embed in the organizational culture. As you mentioned earlier, Robin, it's a journey, and so we have to keep on doing it. Practically, training and process steps to ensure that accessibility is not the responsibility of an individual within the HR or technology team. We are all responsible for it collectively, and it is something we need to incorporate into our processes as a norm and into the culture as a norm.
Yeah, no small feat there, but yeah, brilliant. That's amazing, and I'm sure you're well on the way on that journey that actually never ends. But yes, that's fantastic. Let's finish off then with a question or comment to pass on to next month's guest, which is going to be Susanna Lauren. She is Chief Research and Innovation Officer at Funka, that brilliant digital inclusion agency in Sweden, but that delivers services across Europe. And she's also the IAAP, International Association of Accessibility Professionals, representative to Europe as well. So a big Europe theme in our next month's guest with Susanna. So yeah, have you got any comment to pass on?
Yes, well, I would like to ask Susanna, what is the biggest challenge and opportunity she foresees in the next steps of building or embedding the culture of accessibility within the organization in Sweden and indeed across Europe too?
Brilliant. So you're just basically passing the question on. That's great. Let's hope she gives a really good answer like you did for yours. I love it. Thank you so much. I wish we could talk for another half an hour, but yeah, amazing. Ursula, best of luck with the continuing journey, and yeah, keeping all of those stores afloat, because it's tough out there, isn't it? And yeah, carrying on delivering amazing services to help us all stay healthy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Robin and the team, and see you soon. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ursula, and I'll pass back to Mark. Thanks, Mark. We can't hear you, Mark. I don't know if you need to.
thank you for that fascinating insight, Ursula. Wonderful work at BHF, and an amazing sort of scope of work that you're sort of dealing with in that team as well. So fantastic. I'm just going to wrap up with a couple of pointers. First thing is to mention it. We have had some great questions, which you guys will be answering afterwards, and we'll be folding that into the show notes. There's a fair number in there that I think will draw out some of the themes that you touched on in your conversation, and give a little bit more detail about how you're going about things in the BHF. Would be really interesting. We talked about training, we talked about culture. We offer training, and so I'm just going to mention that quick advert break. We've got a discount code here for anybody on this webinar can get a 10% discount on the training that we run. Just to give you a flavor of the sorts of things that we do. Accessibility for designers, that's running this week. How to create accessible documents and presentations, that's next week. Creating accessible graphics and social content, the week after, and then how to use a screen reader for accessibility testing. So practical, hands-on stuff for across a range of roles for people who need to know about accessibility. Those are 90-minute sessions that are delivered online, and you can book them through our website at www.abilitynet.org.uk/training. And then final note about where you can get further support. So we have a newsletter. If you're not on the newsletter, it's a great way of keeping up to date with assistive technology and accessibility news. abilitynet.org.uk/newsletter to sign up. We have a YouTube channel. All of our webinars and podcast type content ends up on YouTube, youtube.com/abilitynet. We have a podcast. This episode will be published through our podcast link at abilitynet.org.uk/podcast. We have a range of services in accessibility. You can take a look at what we do under abilitynet.org.uk/accessibility-services. And then finally, we run a regular program of webinars, free sessions around a range of topics. So if you haven't seen that yet, go and have a look at abilitynet.org.uk/webinars. Fantastic. So thanks so much, Ursula, for all of your insights there. And Robin, thanks again for leading these conversations and helping us all understand a bit better how we're actually going to deliver an accessible world for people around us, and all the challenges that come with it. So thanks, everyone, and thanks for joining us, all the participants. Take care.